Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Hello, I'm Alison Larkin, writer, comedian, narrator, and host of the Jane Austen podcast. Join me as we embark on a journey through Austen's timeless stories, starting with Pride and Prejudice. The Jane Austen podcast with Alison Larkin is available wherever you listen to podcasts.
Let's hang out. Let's hang out. And let's talk about what lesbians have found. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that went to 23 shops looking for your name until we found it.
Oh, so sweet.
23 shops looking for you, Ellie. That's how long it took me.
Oh my god, this movie's so romantic in only a way that a fucking lesbian film can be. So here we go.
From the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. We currently have 13 spots filled on our Trova trip and 5 left. We will be going to Croatia from September 21st through September 27th. I am so excited to take a vacation with all of you. And you can still join us at bit.ly/Lez-ssentials
We also want to remind you that in season 6, we are releasing monthly Patreon bonus episodes, and our newest one is dropping today. So if you want to hear all of our thoughts about Almost Adults, you can join our Patreon at any level. You get access to today's episode and all of the other Les Extracurriculars episodes that we have put out. You can join at bit.ly/LesPatreon.
In the greater Les universe, there is a new movie coming out called Mother Mary, where Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole are playing lesbian lovers, and we're here for it.
Sold.
I am here for it. I know nothing else about this film, and I'm in.
I mean, I would watch it just for Anne Hathaway in general, but like, especially Anne Hathaway playing gay. Like, sold.
Put it in my veins.
In less fun news, GLAAD's LGBTQ report on queer representation came out recently, showing the drastic loss of queer rep on our TVs, thanks largely to the cancellation or upcoming cancellation of 54 shows. Thanks, we hate it. And that we have lost like 140 LGBTQ characters, or 24% of all of the queer characters on our TV screens. And it is wild. So listen, we all know it's been a rough year, but holy hell, man.
Just to hear the statistic just makes it feel more like,
it's
you're
a
right.
gut punch.
That's horrible. Also, I've said it and I will continue to say it. Cancel your gays is the new bury your gays.
Yeah, it really is.
25, you have basically killed 25% of your queer characters. You just were like, oh, well, we're just going to cancel the shows instead of actually kill them on our screen. And it's pretty rough. Either way, people are just finding other ways to get rid of queer characters.
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
That's why we're going to keep shouting about the gay shit that we do get. Like today, we are talking about Lez-ssentials. So we're going to keep talking about the gay shit that we love. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh.
Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. We are so excited to bring you episode 16 of season 6, our next installment of Lez-ssentials.
Lez-ssentials is a recurring segment on the show where we will dive into classic lesbian movies or shows.
And don't forget, we are also writing and recording original songs for each of our Lez-ssentials movies. You will want to hang around to the end of the episode to hear the song for this movie, titled Summerland.
The titular song for
The
Summerland.
titular song,
Summerland.
That felt very Moira Rose.
Yes. Very Moira, and this movie's not Moira at all, but it'll be fun. And for this Lez-ssentials, we're talking about the 2020 Netflix film Summerland, written and directed by Jessica Swale, starring Gemma Arterton and Gugu Mbatha-Raw. Do you want to read our IMDb synopsis, Leigh?
I always want to read our IMDb synopsis, Ellie.
Let's do it.
For Summerland. During World War II, an Englishwoman opens her heart to an evacuee after initially resolving to be rid of him in this moving journey of womanhood, love, and friendship.
So sweet. I will say, decent IMDb synopsis for like the main plot of this film.
Really? I hate it.
Well, I was just confused because like when you look at when you look at it on Netflix, it's like, this woman has to take care of this child. And I was like, what's gay about that?
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
realize this, like, her taking care of the child is the gayest thing she could have ever done.
It's very, I will say, this is like not our typical Lez-ssentials movie.
Yes.
But it's charming and I love it. I love the movie. I hate this IMDb synopsis. I don't know why. I hate everything about it.
Okay, so how would you describe the movie to someone who hasn't seen it? What would you tell them in a short little clip?
I don't know that I have a synopsis yet. I can tell you what I don't like about it.
Okay, great.
One, I hate that it's like, an Englishwoman opens her heart. And I'm like, that's a really weird way to frame what happens in this movie.
Because what you think happens is what? I think she does open her heart, no?
I would argue that she like
gets worn down. She reluctantly
and fighting tooth and nail every step of the way. And I also don't like the moving journey of womanhood, love, and friendship.
Because it's not really about friendship.
Yes.
It's about
I get that it's like they like maybe they have a friendship, but I don't know. I feel like, you know what maybe it is? Maybe it's that like my synopsis would be like reclusive lesbian hermit.
True.
Alice.
True.
Gets stuck with a child in this sad World War II story that ends okay. You know, like
that ends with a beautiful like notebook style love story.
I feel like it just is like it like makes this whole movie, and I think it's a movie that I love because it's like raw and real and like sad, and I feel like it's just like flowery flowers, and I'm like, I don't like
this
that,
movie is not flowers and sunshine and rainbows. It's pretty intense.
No, it's not at all. So with that being said, should we walk through the rough plot
let's
of
walk
this
through
story, and I'll try to get us through
as you always do.
As I do. I honestly feel like this one's going to be easier because I feel like plot-wise it's a little less busy.
It's very straightforward plot-wise. There's just like a lot of like
it's a lot of just emotions,
character development,
yeah,
like relationship building.
Yes.
Yeah. I get you.
Okay, so the movie kicks off. We start actually in the present. We have this like brief moment in the present where we see Alice in the whatever modern present day is.
Well, modern
Alice.
Present day is 1975, but either way, yes.
Whatever.
1970.
More
what?
Modern.
Yeah. What we.
Old Alice, aged old Alice, sitting at her typewriter, and then we like immediately flash back to younger Alice, who is Gemma Arterton, who is, she's living alone. She's got a mailbox full of sand and sticks and twigs and bones and rocks and whatever else the fucking village kids decide to toss in there.
She is the village witch.
Yes, she's the village witch, and she's, like, chasing after them, like, I don't know, like, chucking cigarettes at them, or, like, whatever the fuck. She's clearly a beloved institution of this village.
Everyone loves her, yeah.
She is a hoot and a half, man.
She also quite literally steals chocolate from a baby in the first 10 minutes as we're like developing her character. Yeah.
She's very clearly immediately established to be like
mean,
just
isolated, loner.
She's the town hermit.
The town lesbian hermit,
right?
like you said, yeah.
She is the town lesbian hermit who, is like, oh, is there rationing going on? And your daughter wants chocolate and she's so sad because you don't have any. And she's like, I'll buy this. And every natural human person is like, oh, how nice of you to buy that for that little girl. And she's like, fucking yoink, gonna eat it with my cigarettes while I sit by myself on my cliffside. So yelling at kids.
Yeah, she's very sweet. Very sweet.
She's great. Which is why it is all the more perfect when someone from town shows up to be like, you're getting a child. And she's like,
here's a baby. Well, not a baby. Here's a teenage boy. Here's a 12-year-old boy.
This woman shows up and is like, you had a baby, it's a boy.
And it's fully grown.
I feel like that is a deep cut reference that like every one of our listeners under age 30 is going to be like, what are you talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh my God, really?
Way deep cut.
Sorry, we're going to have to take a quick detour. Do you remember there used to be this commercial, and it was a commercial about like avoiding having to make like collect calls? And so they would try to avoid having to make collect calls by just like when they ask you for your name in a collect call, you would try to put all of the information into the space where you can say your name. And so they'd be like, it would be like someone answering the phone and they'd be like, you have a collect call from We Had a Baby Eats a Boy. And
nothing.
And then they would be like, do you want to accept the charges? And they're like, nope.
No.
And then they hang up and he's like, and his wife is like, oh, who was that? And he's like, oh, it was John. They had a baby. It's a boy. Anyways. Stupid old commercial from like 20
from when
years
collect
ago.
calls were happening.
So this woman shows up and is like, you had a baby, it's a boy. I'm very funny and therefore everyone appreciated that.
If you appreciated that, please let Leigh know.
Please, someone email us and be like, I remember this. I'm also old
and I remember that.
So this woman shows up to be like, you're getting an evacuee, hooray. And Alice is immediately like, I am far too gay for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I am far too gay, I am far too mean, I do not want a child.
It's not even too mean. I feel like she's literally just like, do you not see that I am a lesbian and therefore should not have this boy dumped on me? Like she's like, I live out here on my lesbian cliff. Like, where nobody should come and see me because I am just here in my gay solitude, leave me
alone.
Be.
Yes.
Right? Like that's her vibe. Her vibe is like, I'm too gay for a normal life. Like,
yeah, I'm too gay for this boy. I'm too gay for I'm too gay for this teenage boy. That sounds weird.
Can
and
we
I didn't
make
mean
a
like
remix of like, I'm too sexy for my shirt, but it's just gonna be Alice
Not
being
just
too
Alice.
gay for everything. Alice is gonna be like, I'm too gay for cooking food, too gay to raise a child.
So true.
She does act like, what does this woman
wild.
eat? Like, she literally lives on like a fucking raw potato and a cigarette. Like,
I mean, I think the cigarettes stereotypically like curb your appetite, right? So I think she just smokes and is never hungry.
How is she alive?
She's
though?
a witch.
Like, that's what
alternatively,
I she literally
she
Frank,
is truly
what
a
did she give Frank the first night he
a potato,
stays with her?
yeah, a potato, an egg, and
like a raw egg,
and a piece of meat. And she was like, "Oh, you thought I was going to cook it for you? No."
She's like, here's a chicken breast, here's a raw potato, here's an egg. Go nuts, kid.
Go wild. You can do it.
So it's just women have that motherly instinct, you know? Like,
oh yeah. To be fair, okay, this is not okay. Lesbians, the great thing about being lesbians is like you get to choose when you want to have a baby. So like, girl just got a child thrown upon her. And so of course she's not going to be like, yes, let me take care of this baby. I keep saying baby, like this is a fully grown, like teenager.
Yeah, how old is this kid?
I feel like he's
10,
11.
11,
like
something like that.
Yeah, like he's like 11.
Okay.
But like, I feel her. She didn't want that kid. And this kid just showed up at her doorstep. She doesn't need that kid.
And she proceeds to be the worst.
Yes, because and she's like, okay, it's gonna be a week. I basically have a week with you, and like after the week, you're done. Goodbye.
Yeah,
you can go.
We're gonna find a new family to ship you off to, so that I don't have to be bothered dropping a potato on a plate once a day for the rest of my
She's
life.
a writer,
right?
Leigh. She is writing her novels.
So true.
All right?
So
She has
true.
things to do.
So Frank shows up. She's immediately terrible to him. This poor kid, man. Like,
I
they
know.
are being evacuated from London. This is World War II, right? This must be World War II. So World War II, like, London's getting the shit bombed out of it. Like, his father flies planes for the Navy or the Air Force, whatever. I don't know what they...
I feel like planes
UK
is probably
calls
the Air Force,
things.
but I have no clue.
Royal Air Force. I don't know. His dad flies planes in the war. His mother is working for the government somehow, like for the, I don't know what.
The Ministry.
Embassy something. You clearly watched this more recently than I did, and I
just watched
took
it
zero
yesterday.
notes.
Yeah.
So
She's
okay.
working for the Ministry.
So works for the Ministry. And so he has nobody to watch out for him, and B, like, his house is getting like exploded every other day. And so they're like, okay, ship you out to the countryside. Here's this random terrible lesbian to watch over you.
Sorry, this is the best we could find.
And he's like, could I have a glass of milk? And she's like, good night.
Yeah, she's like, no. Okay, but we see some character development, some growth. He starts to grow on her. She starts to be a little kinder.
He goes to school. He makes a friend who also hates him at first, and she's
also a
everyone
lesbian.
Everyone is terrible to this kid. This poor fucking kid, man.
Well, she's
Poor
also
Frank.
a little lesbian.
She's also for sure a little lesbian.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
She's like, do not come near me. And draw a line
He goes to
in
school.
between
Enid
here.
is like, I'm going to draw a line on the desk, and it's like, that is the boys' side, and here's the lesbian side, and like, nary the twain shall
See,
meet,
these
please
lesbians
stay
just know boundaries, all right, Leigh?
They do. There's some excellent boundary setting in this movie. So he and Enid become friends because he shows her a bug, the surefire way to any lesbian's heart, right? Especially under age 12. I mean,
Animal lesbians.
guaranteed
Veterinarian
to work.
lesbian. Like,
And then he
it.
proceeds to insult Alice's books, and she's like, those are my books. And he's like, well, they don't look very interesting. And she's like, I wrote them. And we slowly start learning a little bit about what her books are about, which is that she investigates
Folklore.
old
Yeah.
What?
She investigates folklore. That's what she says. Like,
Folklore. I don't know why I didn't hear that right. Okay.
what did she
Yes,
hear?
she investigates like old myths, folklore, stories.
Trying to prove if they're if they exist or like.
Well, I think trying to find like rational,
yes,
like
explanations
real-world,
for the connections
scientific
between
explanations.
all of these this folklore, like particularly the floating islands in the sky that 1 million people have seen, and they're written in a bunch of different folklore, and that's like a big connecting theme of the film.
And so she's like, I'm a totally normal human person trying to like write a book. Here is my giant fucking wall of like red string conspiracy theories and maps, right? Like nothing makes you look more normal than a corkboard wall full of red string. Like just the surefire sign of sanity.
I mean,
so,
I don't think she ever claimed to be sane, but yes.
That's what she's got going on. She's like, here's my red string connecting Morgan Le Fay to this cove up the coast. And you're like, totally normal stuff.
Totally normal.
Sure.
And also is studying sirens and all these mythical women. Also, too, like, she's like, all these women in folklore are just like a reason for men to blame women. Sirens, her as a witch. Also,
and listen, I can't hold this against Alice. Like, Alice is like, I'm going to write a book. It's going to be about sirens luring men to their death. And you and I are like, let's write a musical. It's going to be about
sirens luring men to their death.
Luring men to their death. Like, it's
weird.
Relatable content is all I'm saying. Okay?
It is great lesbian content. Sirens are the best lesbian content.
Yeah. And slowly over time, like, Frank is just slowly wiggling his way in. He's like, I'm digging potatoes, and I'm talking with you about islands, and I skinned my knee, and, like, show me your maps. Like, that's fun. And so while all of this is happening, we also start getting these flashback scenes, right? So we slowly start learning why Alice is so sad and reclusive.
Because she's a lesbian who fell in love once and
accurate.
and now is alone.
And now is alone.
Is wrecked for the rest of her life.
And these flashback scenes, because there's something so funny to me. I love this movie for getting to do the flashback scenes where you're like, oh, here's like, angry, chasing kids off my lawn, smoking cigarettes, witch Alice. And then you get to flash back to like little fucking baby, gay, hesitant as fuck, terrified Alice. And it is the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. That first scene where we meet her and Vera, and she's like,
she's freaking adorable. They are so
like
cute.
Clutching her fucking
she's
pearls.
like, oh my God, she touched my hand. Do you think that was a gay bar?
I don't think so.
So I was.
Wait, the thing they were at or the bar they go to after?
After.
Oh, that might be a gay bar because that's a fucking lesbian who's serving them their drinks.
Yeah, right. So they go to this like, what are they even at? Like I guess a college party, right? To start, and they're both there.
Like a show or something.
They're
like
both there alone,
like,
and so they're like, well, we're not. And fucking Vera, that's her name, right? Vera.
Yeah.
Vera is a forward lesbian. Like Vera's like, well, you're not alone anymore. Like you just started talking to her. And then she's like, I'm going to take you someplace that you're going to love after this. Takes her to a straight up gay bar.
It's got to be a gay bar. There's no question.
It's like, there's a lot of women, I feel like, dancing with each other. And then like they start dancing with each other and it doesn't seem like it's a weird thing. You know what I mean?
And
like
their waitress is like in a fucking tux.
Yes. It's a gay bar.
Yeah. And then Vera's like, let me like saunter up and like hold your hands and like make pointed eye contact and like stare deeply into your soul. And like, Alice's gay panic through this whole scene is like fucking
wild.
Tangible. Like it is so real. She is
freaking out. She is falling in love. She is having a time. And then you flash back to her as the old witch, and it is rough. You're like, this woman got her heart crushed.
Like in a vice, like just destroyed. This woman was destroyed. So we're starting to get these like twin stories developing, right? Where you're watching Alice and Frank. They're going to investigate this whole Fata Morgana with the islands floating in the sky, and like Frank's getting super into it, and they're like, let's drive up and see if we can see these islands. Like she's like, I think it has to do with like light and refraction and the sun and reflections, and he's 10 and he's just like, let's go see islands.
And he's just like, it's heaven.
Yeah, they have this cute conversation, and she's, like trying to explain like more things about myths and whatever. And then he's like, I see the castle. I see it. It's got a green flag. And she's like, I don't see the castle, and they don't fly a flag. And then she drives away.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, she is pretty shitty to leave a 10-year-old alone on these fucking mountains.
She's fucking terrible. She's terrible to this child. She like drives away, leaves him there, and then like drives past that castle, and they're flying a green fucking flag above this castle today. And she's like,
you're lying. You're a liar. You lied and you're making fun of me. And then she leaves.
God.
Just like that. Great accent,
rough.
as always.
And so she has to like drive back and like find this fucking child that she just abandoned on like a cliffside, like overlooking the ocean, like random miles from her house in a place that he doesn't know at all. And you're just like, you didn't even leave him a potato, Alice. Like, what's he gonna eat?
Or an egg.
Like, or an egg. Kid's got nothing on him, right? Like, he's in a fucking pair of shorts. Like, what's happening here? So just like, go gather Frank, and then they start getting closer, and she like realizes that, he's not just lying to her. Like they're like connecting more, and he's asking her more questions, and we're flashing back more to her and Vera, and they're like on a weekend together, right?
Their weekend trip is so cute. They're on a weekend together. Cute. They're like sunbathing outside. They're making out under this little like umbrella. They have their feet touch, which we know we always love a good foot touch.
Love a foot touch. Love a foot touch. They're swimming in their 1920s 20s best in there.
They're constantly giggling. Like, the whole
Yeah.
scene is just laughing. It's
They're
really
so
sweet.
cute. They're adorable.
Yes.
Yeah, I did love their little weekend retreat. And then, so what happens now? We're bounced back to the, like, I don't even know how to explain all the different time frames of this movie. The movie time, Witch Ellis. We're back to Witch Alice and Frank. They're trying to hang out with Enid, but Enid isn't super supposed to be around her because she's clearly a lesbian witch, and no one likes that. And then you keep flashing back to, like, more scenes with Alice and Vera and how she, like, couldn't be a part of her family. Like, Vera's mother, someone's dying. And there's, like, you get that clear moment of, like, Alice is, like, outside the room because she, like, can't be in there.
Oh, yeah, that was rough. And then we're
it's
like...
so harsh.
Oh,
It's so
then
harsh.
you have this juxtaposition of, like, quote-unquote heterosexual, normal family... And then Vera and Alice, who are family, but, like, she's not allowed in.
Right.
Rough.
Yeah. It's rough, and that's the scene that leads directly into that scene where she has that conversation with Frank, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, why aren't you married, right? Like, why don't you have someone and stuff? And she, like, they have that moment where she's like, would you think that it was strange, like, if a woman loved another woman? And he says... no, and then her little... That's, like, it's such a beautifully acted
I love that scene because, first of all, kids are like, being gay doesn't fucking matter because it doesn't.
Yeah.
But also, he says, which just, like, keep this in your back pocket, listeners. He says, it's better than marrying someone you don't like. Talking about his...
they're like heavy-handed dropping those...
talking about
those.
his mother...
Yeah.
And his father. So keep that in your back pocket.
What else happens? We have, like, we kind of do this for a little bit. We're, like, bouncing back and forth between, like, Alice's relationship with Vera, Alice's relationship with Frank. Like, back to Alice's relationship with Vera in the past, like, back to Alice's relationship with Frank, right? And so we're watching, like, her and Vera obviously being more and more in love. We're also watching, like, her and Frank getting closer and closer together. And, like, to the point that she, like, goes to, like, give him up to another family, and they realize that he's gonna have to, like, leave town, and she's like, I didn't realize that was the plan here. And then instead she's like, take my bedroom, take the room, take a thing, have some drawers, the closet's yours. Like,
instead she makes him, like, a whole bedroom. It's so sweet and cute.
it's so
she literally, like,
stinking cute.
Makes him, like, he loves planes, so there's, like, planes in the bedroom. There's a scene later where, like, he's drinking milk before bed, and you're like, oh, because he was like, I want to have milk before bed. You're like, no, bitch. And then she starts giving him milk.
Yeah. It's
she
super
loves
cute.
him.
It's so she makes him his whole thing. He's, like, moved in, and the woman who, like, dropped him off, the woman who showed up to be like, sorry, lesbian, you're getting a child. Like, she shows up again to tell Alice that, like, his father's plane went down. Alice has to break the news. This fucking woman is like, oh, his father died. You can tell him bye.
I know. She's like, so rude. She sucks.
Like, just the worst. The worst. Don't ever dump that on someone. That's so bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so she's like, please tell him. And Alice is like, it's his birthday tomorrow. And she's like, sorry, bye. Can't hear you. Gotta go.
Also, like, I don't know. Okay, so here's the scenario, listeners, right? She knows his dad just died. It is his birthday tomorrow. What would you do? Seriously, what would you do, Leigh? Would you have told him, or would you have waited till after his birthday?
I don't know.
I feel like I would have waited till after his birthday, so I get this woman.
Yeah.
I'm
no,
like,
I totally get it.
But the thing is, like, I mean, it goes to shit because somebody tells him, right? Somebody else tells him. Yeah. Freaking Enid tells him because everyone in the town is talking about his dad dying. So, like, maybe she should have told him earlier. But I get it. Like, she wanted him to have a fun birthday and not be depressed as hell.
Yes. I here's the thing. It's like, it's so rough the way this movie does it too, right? Because they hit this point in the movie where it's like, Alice knows his father has died. She does not want to tell him. It is sort of paralleled in the film with flashing back to the day that Vera left.
Ugh.
Right? Like the day
Hurts.
that Vera was like, I want a family, and we can't have that together, and I want a family more than this. And so you're basically watching somebody who has already basically, like, lost everything that she wanted, right? Who now is, like, holding this fucking secret on her shoulders of, like, having to destroy this kid's life and knowing how terrible that is.
Yes. Well, to add on to it, too, her dad also died, I
Yep.
think, in the war as well. So she's, like, feeling like she knows how much that affected her.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to be empathetic and kind or I don't know. It's so complicated.
She's trying to give him one
last day
last
of
good
feeling like
day.
good. Yeah.
Because, like, it's so hard when it's like you watch. Like, here's the thing: I can't say what I would do in this situation. I'm not gonna go there. What I do get is watching Alice, who, like, walks in the door with, like, a bottle of wine, and she is, like, so smiling and happy, and, like, just having everything crumble on her in like just a fraction of a second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you watch her experience that, and then you watch her wrestle with this, like, here is this kid who I, like, suddenly have realized I really care about, who is going to be just destroyed by this news, and it's his birthday, and I've been a fucking monster to him, and, like, I just want to give him one good thing. Like, I feel like this is her attempt to be like, I've been terrible, I want to give this kid one good thing, and it goes so wrong.
I
It
know.
goes so
it goes
wrong,
so
and I
horribly
get it.
wrong.
But honestly, I blame Enid more than I blame Alice. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I totally
Enid,
get where
girl,
Alice is
calm
coming from.
your tits. Enid is, like, jealous of another girl who just came into her, whatever. She's like, you lesbian witch. How dare you, liar, liar, liar.
I love movies that get you to break out the accent.
I'm
It's
so
just my
excited about that
favorite.
one. I think I actually nailed her accent. I don't
It's
know if I
great.
quite got the Alice's accent, but I feel like Enid I can vibe with. The leaning more towards Cockney, like, give me that shit. But she's so, like, I'm like, you little shit. Do
You little
not
shit, Enid.
tell this boy that his father just died.
Well, and especially not like that, right? Because it's rough. But this is when you're right. This is when she realizes, like, she's going through his stuff, and she finds photos of his family, and she realizes that this is Vera's kid.
son. Which also, like, what a gay twist. I'm like,
Yeah.
this
Fucking
that's why, like, I was like,
priceless.
okay, so she just randomly gets this kid, like, I'm confused, like, why is this a gay movie? And then you're like, okay, seeing the flashbacks, and you're like, of freaking course, this child is her ex-lover's child.
Of course it is. Of course it is. And she's like, yeah, she's like moving him the fuck in. She's like, I can be your mom. We can do this. Like, it's so stinking cute. And then Enid has to go and shit all over fucking everything and tell this kid that his dad died in, like, the worst
way
fucking way
possible.
possible. And she's, like, screaming at him, and he's, like, not believing it, and then he just
Loses
disappears.
it, runs away,
Just runs
goes
away,
to
runs
London.
to London. Like, how the fuck did he get on a train and get to London? And they figure that out, and Alice, is just getting in her car, and they're like, you can't drive to London. And she's like, fucking watch me, I'm a lesbian. And she's like,
I'm a lesbian, and
toot,
I will
bitches,
get my
like-
son.
honk, honk, vroom, vroom, here I go. She's like, no war can stop me. So she, like, goes to London. They're, like, actively being shelled. There's, like, fucking,
Yes.
like, buildings
Exploding.
exploded and, like, fire and, like, stretchers, like, full of corpses being carried past her. And she does find Frank, and his whole house got blown the shit up.
Mm-hmm.
And this poor kid, man.
I know. His dad
that-
just died,
that-
and then he sees his entire house destroyed. He has no clue if his mom was in there or not.
No idea. He's just got this, like, fucking 1,000-yard stare that it's not good. They have to, like, spend the night in, like, a fucking,
Bomb shelter.
like, underground tunnel bunker, like, getting bombed to pieces. And she brings him home, and you know, she's like trying to drive them home, and he's like running out of the car because he's like running to see, I don't know what to see. What is he running to see? There's like the island again, or he's just like climbing on a rock and like falling in the ocean.
I think
this kid's got a lot of
okay. He's going through a lot of trauma. So, but I think he's running towards the ocean just because he's so upset, but also because he wants to see the floating island, because the floating island is Summerland, which means that in this folklore that it's his dad trying to send him a message, or his mom trying to send him a message. And so he's like, I want to see it again, because we missed this part. He saw it earlier, but he didn't know his dad was dead.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I felt like someone was trying to talk to me, but I don't know who. And she doesn't tell him.
Yeah.
So then I think he's like wanting to see it again, to feel like he didn't hallucinate it and that like his dad's there.
But
and
instead,
he does see it.
Falls off a rock into the ocean.
Yes.
And in like a fucking wool sweater, and she's like, I'll save you. So with shoes, just really listen. This kid's going through it.
He really is.
So she like jumps in and saves him and like pulls him back out and is trying to like, you know, connect over like, my dad died too, and like talking him through all of this shit and being like, you can live with me, let's live together, like it's okay. And like it's just also, did you catch too that like when she brings him back home to like show him like this whole little setup that she made for him, there's a chocolate bar that she left by the bed.
Oh, I
for
didn't
him.
see that, but that's funny. She
Yeah,
does
like
care.
She's breaking everything out, right? Like everything. And so yeah, so it's like they sort of find their footing together, and then they come home one day, and who's waiting?
Fucking
on
Vera, that
Fucking
lesbian girl.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole lot. Like Vera's there being like, I sent him here. Oh, that's one thing that we missed, right? She realized earlier on that like the letter she had gotten was not the standard like, you're getting a child letter. It was like a special letter, like just for her. And so she like had sort of started to catch on that like something weird happened here. But yeah, Vera was like, I sent him to you. Like there was no one else I wanted to like have take care of him. And they make like a little Viking funeral plane for his dad, and they like light it on fire and like sail it off their cliff into the sunset together. Cause like, what else do you do as your first like new family bonding experience?
Just send your father into the abyss. Yeah, I know. Right. That's the thing where I was like, so I feel a little shitty about this.
They're like, let's just take like cis, like, you know, comp het bullshit and like set it on fire and throw it off a cliff.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
yeah,
I do feel bad, but I'm
cool.
like, I guess the only way for them to really be together was for her to marry this man, have a child, have him die, and then they could come back together. And so I'm like, sorry to this man.
Sorry to
but
this
in
man.
in the same way that like so many heterosexual films. Wait, no.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/lezhangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lezhangout.
Let's hang out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
In the way that other movies like use the other lesbian movies like use the man, like the man is like sort of centered.
Yeah,
I feel like this
man is forgotten.
This man's like, goodbye.
This man, we never even
out of the plot.
We see like one picture of him.
We never met him. Yeah.
This man does not exist.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry to this man. I do not know this man.
Yes, we never met him.
So we like have this cute like, you know, reconciliation scene, whatever, and then it like cuts back to modern day 1975. Modern present day, where Alice is like finishing up this book and she's like looking over photos
I know, of their life together.
And then she's like walking out to into like the other room in this house, and like Vera's there, and she's like, I finished my story, and Vera's like, oh, I hope I come across well in it. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, you just walked into a store and like got my phone number and like shipped me your son. And Vera's like, I went into, it was like the 23rd shop until I found someone, you know, who like could get her in touch with her publisher to like figure out where to ship her child off to. And Alice is like, you never told me that. And then she like dedicates this book to Frank, and then they go down and meet Frank on the beach, and like they walk away like a happy little family, and lesbians everywhere just devolve into tears. Mm-hmm. Ellie's gone through a whole box of tissues at this point in the movie. You know,
it's perfect.
It was a lot.
Perfect ending.
It was really sweet.
It was very sweet. So that's the film. What are your thoughts, Leigh? What are your thoughts about this movie?
Okay, I do know that this is not our typical Lez-ssentials. This is such a fucking charming film.
Mm-hmm.
It's so stinking cute. And there are things about it that that are just touching. Like, they're just really touching. Like, I still, man, that scene when she has that conversation with Frank where, like...
About being a lesbian, and he's like, it's cool.
Yeah.
And then also, like, he's literally like, did you kiss her? And then we realize later, like, you're talking about your mom.
It's his mom.
Yeah. It's your mom.
It's his mom.
It's your mom.
But
yeah.
no, but here's the thing. It's like, okay, we get emails from a lot of listeners who do not have a lot of queer community around them, maybe don't have a lot of queer people that they get to spend time with, like, who live in places or in countries where, like, it is still a lot harder to be open, right? And that moment, like, when you just see that little catch in her breath, you know, when she asks that question and he says, like, no, that wouldn't be weird. And you can just see, like, it's such a really powerful representation of, like, what it feels like to feel accepted.
Yes.
By someone.
And also to put that scene in a movie that's about World War II.
Yes.
Also, right? So, like, that's the thing about this movie that, like, I found really interesting is, like, you know how I feel about a period piece? Like, so I'm like, when you put these people in a period piece and you don't give them the happy ending, I'm like, this is fucking rough. Yeah. This movie gives us a period piece that's, like, pretty realistic, right? Obviously, this one woman was like, I'm a lesbian in whatever time they met, like, in what, maybe they met in the 1920s? 1930s?
Like yeah, I was going to guess, like, late 20s, maybe.
Like, late 20s, right? Late 1920s. And she's like, I have very few choices here. Like, my choice here is to, like, become a spinster with you, and we'll live alone.
Right.
We'll live together forever, and everyone will, like, talk shit about us. But I also, like, they had this whole scene where she's like, I honestly don't even care about that. She's like, I would live with you forever and, like, take all the shit from everyone else, right?
Yeah.
But I want a child. And, like, that was, like, an interesting story to tell.
Well, and it's an interesting story, and it's handled with a lot of care, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because exactly what you're saying, like, we watch a lot of period pieces where it's like the overarching sense of it is of taboo, is of homophobia, is of rejection by society, is of whatever. And it's like, in this movie, like, you see how the village people, like, how everyone in town kind of relates to Alice, but none of it is actually directly because of the fact that she's gay. She's just, like, a weird hermit woman who, like, throws shit at all of their children.
I think it's a little, I do think, like, subtly it's because they know she's gay.
We might pick up on it, but you don't, but it's not like anybody, there's no explicit mention of it.
Yes,
right?
But I think they don't explicitly mention it because people don't explicitly talk about being gay. But, like, I feel like
sure,
calling someone a witch is, like, a connotation of, like, that is a lesbian living up there.
Sure, but it's not, but what I'm saying is, like, it's not like it's a period piece where you're watching, like, people giving them weird looks when they're together. Like, the interactions
besides
you see
the family
her,
scene.
Right, like, the interactions you see between her and Vera are all, they're so positive and happy, and, like, they are happy together, right? You're not watching them under scrutiny, and you don't watch, I'm not arguing that, like, a lot of this is probably because she's such a fucking dyke. Absolutely. She's the dyke witch on, you know, like, Ocean Cliff Hill. Yeah. No question. I'm just saying that, like, the only explicit mention you hear of it is her putting it out there, getting immediately accepted, and then saying, you know, other people don't feel this way, and having Frank say, like, why? You know? And it's just, like, to me, there's something that's really nice about having that be the only, like, verbal discussion about it.
About queerness, yeah.
Right?
If
is
besides,
just watching
like,
a child and having it be like a kid. Like having it be a kid who is able to look at this situation with a grown-ass woman who is just like desperate for somebody to accept her as she is, and just having this kid be like, yeah, why wouldn't they? You know? And it's just like, it's like the purest, like, from the mouths of babes, right?
Yes.
Like, I really like that. I like that scene. I think it was acted phenomenally. I mean, she's great in this just in general.
Oh, yeah. There's so much emotion. Like, every time she does a flashback, you're like, oh my God. Like, I'm so wrecked.
Yeah.
Also, the point, like, one of the gay things I love about this movie, too, is, like, that whole scenario where, like, literally, you know, Alice was madly in love with one person. And after that, she was like, I'm going to be alone on this cliff forever.
Yeah. The fucking
like,
gayest thing ever is to carry a torch for, like, the first girl you fell in love with, like, 20 years ago.
I mean, but to be fair,
classic.
Both of them, Vera gets married, has a child, and she goes
a fucking decade later.
out of her way, yes. Like, probably longer than that, right? She had to have met her husband, got married, got pregnant. Like, probably, that has to be at least, like, 14 years later.
Yeah.
And girl is like, you know who I want to raise my baby? That woman I was in love with 15 years ago.
Plus, and she's like, I'm going to go into 23 stores.
Yes.
To try to find someone who can hunt down your publisher for, like, this, for my one ex, right?
Like, my only ex, probably, too, right?
My only ex. Yeah, I mean, it is.
And then the boomerang is freaking real. She's like, my husband's dead. Let's get back together, baby. Like, and you're like, honestly, I'm here for it. But, like, clearly, they get back together. They start raising her child. And then they die together. Like, they don't die in this movie. Like, they're not like The Notebook. But, like, they are old. And they are still together.
They've had a whole life together.
40 years later.
And it's also,
they are still together.
Like, the thing that I love about it is it's so contrived. Right?
Oh, it's
like,
ridiculous. But that's
so contrived to have it be
cares?
like,
that's like,
to have it be like, oh, we had to, you know, like break up because you wanted a family, and then you go off and have your family, and then the war, and like,
yeah, like
I love a movie.
Yeah, it's like
I love a movie that tries to bank on like, well, thank God for the Nazis because the lesbians get back together.
Oh God, horrible.
It's just incredible to have it be like, wow, you shipped me your son.
Yep.
Your husband died. How convenient.
I know. And now we can live happily ever after.
Fucking eating that shit up, man. Like,
no, I know.
So good. It's so good because then you don't have to feel bad. Then you don't have to feel bad about it.
The second that I found out that it was her kid, I was like, this is comical.
Yes.
Like, it is,
and it's amazing.
Silly, but great. Right?
But
like,
perfect.
it's like so many, like, contrived rom-coms. And it's not really a rom-com, but you know what I mean? Like, that romance where it's like, we were meant to be together because,
exactly.
over across all universes, like, we're together. You know what I mean?
And I love it. I love it. Like, I'm totally
against
here for it.
all odds. We raised this baby as two lesbian moms in the freaking 40s.
Yeah.
Like, how great.
Yeah, and it's like, how convenient, because listen, you wanted to be together, you also wanted a family, and now
you've got it all.
And now you've got it all. And like, and who's gonna question that Frank's widowed mother now had to move in with Dyke Witch of Cliffside Hill because
because her husband's dead.
Well, and she bonded with Frank. So like, of course they're going to live together and raise this boy. Like, why would anybody think twice about that?
I mean, I'm sure plenty of people
Enid's going to move
twice.
out of home and probably move in to be like, oh my God, how do I be a lesbian? Like, somebody's got to teach her, right? So like, yeah.
Enid's a big old Les. But yes, I mean, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think it's very different from our usual Lez-ssentials.
Yeah.
Because, like, to me, the lesbian story is central, but it's not, like,
it's
so
not
central.
It's not like the romance is the main plot.
Yes.
Right?
Like,
even though it is.
I'm, like, waiting
even though this whole movie is a really contrived way to get these lesbians together.
Yes,
with
but
a child.
that's what I thought was so funny, where I was like, I'm watching the beginning and I'm like, okay, I'm like, okay, see, she's a lesbian, but like, it's just like a few flashbacks.
You're like, I see her coat and I see her cigarettes, but like, I don't.
But
get
like,
it,
I'm
right?
not, you know, like I'm like, is this like a thing that's gonna happen? And then they really wrapped it up to be like, these lesbians get back together.
Here's maybe how I would. Okay, I'm ready to give you my new synopsis for this movie.
Great.
Here's my new synopsis for this movie. Summerland is like if someone sat down one day and asked themselves the question out loud, hey, I wonder how, like, lesbians in the 40s would have even managed to have kids, right? And then
True.
that thought experiment went a little off the
too
rails.
far. Yeah.
Went a little too far and ended up in this screenplay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what I think. That would be, like, my synopsis for Summerland.
It seems like the most plausible way for lesbians to have kids in the 40s.
Yeah, right? Is like you fall in love in the 20s at a gay bar.
Mm-hmm.
You break up because one of you really desperately wants kids. You
Have
beard
the
up.
kid,
And
yep.
then and then Hitler decides to try to take over the world. And then your husband dies and you get back together with your ex and raise your son together. Like the most logical steps. Like that's
So
probably
logical.
how all lesbians did this in the 40s, right?
But yeah, like what was happening? So wild. So like the definition. Have you seen there's a movie called Serendipity?
Oh God, yeah, but not in 20 years. When did
I
that
feel
come
like
out?
it's like a very serendipity vibes where they're like,
that was
wow,
that
crazy
was what's his face
things.
with the
Yeah,
Cusack, right? Yeah.
You're just like crazy things that keep happening, but then they're all happening to put us together.
Yeah. Well, and it's just like I love
It's
it.
cute,
It's so
though.
heavy-handed
It's cute.
and stupid, and it's adorable.
It's so
But
heavy-handed.
It's also like it's a really for a movie where like the central premise of it is on its face like kind of ridiculous. It never feels that way when you're watching it, right? Like it doesn't feel insane.
Well,
when it
yes, because
happens.
I do think
it feels insane looking back on it now. When you're like you talk through it and you're like, what? But when
I
you're
think the
watching
most
it,
insane part is just when she comes back. But from like the beginning to when Vera comes back, it's pretty like the acting is so good that
charming.
you're just like,
I
this
just
is
find
sweet.
it-
It's
I
very
find
sweet.
It so charming. I just
That's very
really
sweet.
like it. I think I like them. Like I liked the whole development of their relationship, you know,
Yes.
and how they just sort of like keep dropping these little moments through time and like sprinkling them in, and so you're kind of like following as you go, and it is like their relationship is just sweet. They're so sweet, and she's such a little gaby. Like I think there's something really fun about getting to see these like very two different levels of dyke of Alice in this movie, where you're like
the first love and the scorned old lesbian. Yeah.
the first love and the heartbroken carrying a torch witch dyke. I mean, it's just
The two lesbians.
yeah.
The only two
Baby
lesbians.
gay to old crone gay.
The old
It's
crone, yeah.
Yeah.
The baby kid old crone pipeline. Yes. That is exactly what it is.
It's just sweet. It's sweet and I liked it, and
I agree.
I feel like you know me and how I feel about most period pieces these days, where I'm just like kind of over them a lot, and I'm like, I really liked this. Like I would watch this movie again.
Yes.
I could sit through this and be totally happy to watch their whole little story again, especially like knowing now going in like how good that payoff's gonna feel when you're just like, I'm so sorry about your husband, and you're like, yeah, okay, sure you are. You're like, I'm so sorry about your husband that he didn't die sooner, and we could.
Oh my god, that you couldn't come back to me earlier. Yeah.
I know, right? Like, it's so. I'm like, I don't know how you can deliver that line with a straight. I feel like that's the only line in this movie that I don't know how you get out with a straight face. I'm like, how do you sit there and look at the woman who like broke your heart into a million pieces walking away from you, and you just found out her husband exploded, and you're like, I'm so sorry.
So sorry. Oh god.
So sorry, but like also you're here and I do have a bed, like just the one.
Yeah, like,
so
I feel like also, okay, we don't really
Frank's
get
already comfy here.
Yes.
If you wanted to just, your house did explode.
so
Like, I guess you should move in.
we don't really get to see this part. How soon after she shows up do you think they get back together?
Okay, wait, that they get back to... I thought you were going to ask, does she move in? And I was about to say immediately. I don't think they get back together immediately. I'm gonna give it like 3 months.
I'll give it 2 weeks. The sexual tension between those two is too wild, and there's not enough room in that apartment. She lives in a cottage. She lives in basically a one-bedroom cottage.
It's a one-bedroom. Yeah, it's a one-bedroom cottage, like for sure.
There's some, she's like, oh, Frank's asleep. Let's talk about the old days. And then they're like,
yeah,
where should I sleep tonight? And she's like, fuck it, just come in my bed.
Listen, lesbians, if you're looking for an excuse for your girlfriend to move in, have you considered shelling her neighborhood?
Oh my God.
Just a thought.
Just a thought.
Just a thought. She's got to move in if there's nowhere else to go, right? Like if your house is literally a smoldering pile of bricks. If you're trying to get back
together with your ex, have you thought of shipping her your son?
I'm just saying there's a lot of things leaning in their direction of U-hauling right now, right? She's like, your son already lives here. His comics are here. His chocolate bar that I put out for him is here. He's learned to cook a potato. Like, he's happy here. And you have no husband or place to live. So
this all adds up to move in.
Convenience, okay?
Very convenient.
Very convenient. But that's what I love is, like, it's so hard to distinguish between, like, how ridiculous this sounds when we're talking about it and, like, how heart-wrenching it is when you're watching it.
They're
two very different things.
The character development, the acting, just, like, the way that they do it. Like, it is, like, sort of a silly, contrived story, but the earnestness with which the actors really lean in makes you feel like this is a real heartfelt
It is
story.
Heartfelt. Well, and that's like, it's cracking me up to like listen to us talk about it and then compare it to like the fucking song I wrote for this movie. But it's just, I'm like, the movie itself is charming and touching and like, I don't know. I really like it. The plot, if I really think about it too hard, makes me die laughing. Like,
oh yeah,
it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. Like this is the kind of plot that you come up with for like fan fiction, right?
Well, that's why we love it.
I love it. I fucking love it.
It's a soulmate.
I'm just like,
it's a soulmate.
Blow up
trope.
that husband, man. Like fucking
it's like everything in the universe is coming together.
It. Like his plane literally exploded, and you're memorializing him by setting a plane on fire.
Yep.
And throwing it off of a cliff, which I just think is the funniest thing. It's so funny.
It is.
It's so perfect and so funny, and I love it. So anyways, that's my take is I love it. If you're looking for like a supercharged rom-com-y, like it's not that.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not going to have a moment where I'm like, wow, love the sex scenes like this. Yeah. There's not really a sex scene. There's the feet scene.
Hey man, their feet got real close to each other in that grass. Their feet got
real crazy. But yeah, it is more just like heartfelt.
It's heartfelt. It is. And I really liked it. And I feel like I've been very over period pieces lately, and this one surprised me. I was like really pleasantly surprised because I know we're going to have to do some of the other period pieces as Lez-ssentials eventually, and I'm just kind of like, that's fine. This one I was digging. I was into it. I enjoyed the ending. The payoff was totally worth it. I think if you're a person who cries, you should have some tissues. Like Kelsey sobbed through the end of this movie. I'm sure you did too.
That's funny because I didn't cry.
Really? I'm impressed you didn't.
But I think I didn't cry because I was almost laughing at the twist.
It's so much.
You know what I mean? Where I was like, this is nice, but I also was like, this is comical.
Yeah.
I loved it. I hope that all of you watch it. Let us know what you think. Are you ready for our Q and Gay?
I'm so ready.
All right, let's do it.
Q and Gay.
All right, question number 1, Leigh. Would you raise your ex's child? A, yes, B, no, or C, only if they came back to me?
Oh, please. Of course I would. Ship all of your babies to me, actually. If you just
God.
Ship me your children.
Just because you want more children?
Yeah.
Or because you would want your ex's baby specifically?
Both. Why not?
Wild.
Listen.
It's going to be a no for me.
I have very few exes. My ex is great. I would for sure raise her kids. B, I love kids. So, like, yeah, man, ship me all your babies, okay? Listen up, listeners.
You heard it here first.
Open call.
If children come. Yeah.
Free reign for shipping me your kids, okay? It's fine.
Oh my God. I really hope you don't get a random child.
Listen, if I come home to a fucking baby in a basket on my doorstep, actually, I think Kelsey would be just so thrilled.
Okay. Cool.
We'll be great. We're so good. It's such a problem. Like, anytime any one of our friends have kids, like, have new babies, and Kelsey's like, let's have more babies. And I'm like, we will die, actually. Yeah. But I do love kids. So, like, yeah, it's great. I would, of course. Yeah. What about you? You wouldn't?
I would not. No.
Ellie's like, I just bought a tiny little lake house cottage with 1 bedroom. Where the fuck am I going to fit this kid? Have a potato. Yeah. Okay.
I can't. I have a dog and a cat. Like, I don't have room for a child.
That's fine. It's fine. They, you just shove them in a drawer. Whatever.
Yeah.
Question 2, Ellie. Do you prefer A, planes, B, boats, C, trains, or D, automobiles?
I think I prefer a plane. I like flying.
Yeah,
I like traveling.
That's a funny answer to give for this movie, huh?
Yeah. Sorry.
Although, to be fair, nothing looks very safe in this movie. Like, when the automobiles option, when they drive, every time they drive these cars, and I'm like, what are your tires being held on by right now? Like, gum? Like, all of their tires are, like, wibbly wobbling their way down the road. They do not look very safe.
For sure, no. All right, question number 3. Which mythical creature would you most want to be? A, a siren, B, a witch, C, a mermaid, or D, a minotaur?
Oh, I mean, that's a real tough call. Are we drawing a distinction between sirens and mermaids? We're saying they're different?
Yes.
Okay, so, do I want to be a siren?
Because sirens lure sailors to their death.
Yeah,
and
do I want to be a
I'm
siren who
like,
lures men to their death?
I'm thinking like Ariel.
Or a witch who poisons men. So it's a real tough call. I'm gonna say... Okay, here's my answer. I'm gonna say a siren because they're the ones that sing the most. So
knew it.
We love that. Like, we gotta have some music in our lives, Ellie.
Oh,
that's a mermaid. Okay,
Sorry.
Question 4. Have you ever taken candy from a baby? A, yes. B, no. Or C, not yet. I like the hopeful.
I always
option
like to do a yes, no, not yet, because I like people to feel free to be like, what, I haven't done it, but like maybe I will. I don't know.
just love someone out there being like, actually, you know what, I haven't. But now that you mention it,
now that you said it, I think it's a no, but it's interesting because it's like a yes if I was also a child at the same time.
Okay,
do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like when my brother and sister would like do Halloween and we would like be like fighting over each other's candy, but not like as an adult was I like, give me that candy, child.
Here's the problem is once you have kids and they start being old enough to like go trick-or-treating.
Yeah, you're like you have taken candy from your own baby.
Oh yeah, you have to take all of their candy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because you're basically, otherwise I'm like, you will just like subsist on sugar for like the next 3 months of your life. So yeah, you like absolutely I have taken all their candy. Eat all their candy. Yeah. For
As
sure.
You should.
I listen, I have here, listen to this joyful sound of an M&M's bag that Kelsey found on top of our fridge because her parents brought it here over Christmas for them to make gingerbread houses. So we had like a whole box full of all the candy that they hauled up here for them to make gingerbread houses that then we tried to hide on top of the fridge. And then she like found it and was like, eat these fucking M&Ms because otherwise they will see them.
Hide them in your belly.
They'll see them and they'll want them. So now I have to eat this whole bag of M&Ms. So yeah, absolutely. Taking candy from babies left and right.
All right, question number 5, Leigh. Would you rather A, marry a man, or B, live alone in a cottage?
I will move and be Dyke Witch of Cliffside Hill. Address Cliffside Hill.
I would love to be Dyke Witch of Cliffside Manor.
Yeah, I mean, not even a question.
Actually, I hate being alone, but besides that, I would like to be Dyke Witch. I just need a coven.
I could take up smoking. I could learn to write on a typewriter. This is all doable stuff, right? I can eat a potato
I could
raw.
never brush my hair again. I'm ready for it.
Listen, honestly, if you never brushed your hair again, it might be similar to hers in this movie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She has not run a brush through that hair in years.
No, and you'd think, like, they just keep dropping twigs in her mailbox. Like, make a fucking brush out of it. Get creative, Alice. Like, come on.
Tell me about it. I have a thing for hair, but whatever. Remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community. So we just want to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. And we want to start with one of our listeners who sent us an email. Listen, I know we've said a couple times lately how much we love getting emails from all of you. And please keep sending them. And y'all are really coming through for us. Okay, so we want to shout out one of our listeners, Audrey, who sent us just a really, really, again, just these beautiful, touching emails. Like, you all are amazing.
I know. Everyone, like, is a freaking, like, creative writing connoisseur. Like, they are writing beautiful, beautiful novels to us. So thank you for that.
And speaking of beautiful, beautiful novels, Audrey's writing novels as well, publishing some books, including we saw a little snippet of some conversations about Let's Hang Out in an upcoming book. So listen, Audrey, thank you so much for your email. We loved it. And it was great.
It was amazing. Also so cool to be like, Let's Hang Out is like a queer pop culture reference in a book.
Is wild.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So thank you.
You blew our little minds. Our little gay minds have been blown.
Yes.
And yeah, amazing.
You made us feel very special. Also want to shout out Emma on Instagram, who sent us a message saying One Tree Hill also made them gay, which we get, and that she was an extra on the show.
Insane.
Jealous. To be that close to Sophia Bush is
in the presence of greatness, truly.
Just a true gift for any gay. So
amazing.
Good for you, Emma. Love that for you.
And as always, we want to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Tanya Ferguson,
Alana Rosen,
Lisette Stye,
Adi Benitez,
Fiona W.,
and Sophia Phillips.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Henley,
Andrea Duzette,
and Julia Gonzalez. Thank you all so much for all of your support. We could not continue doing this podcast without you. While we're reading all of those names, I think Ellen just had a birthday recently, so happy birthday,
Ellen. Happy birthday, Ellen. We love you. Oh, I love Amy and Ellen. How many episodes? Actually, that could be a good drinking game rule. We say Amy and Ellen's name, at the end, but like, how many times do I talk about Amy and Ellen?
Yeah,
like,
somebody
really
has kept track, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
And whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up every week.
We also post videos on our YouTube channel, so make sure you subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch them.
Let's Hang Out is an independently produced show. It's hosted by us. Our audio production's done by Ellie. Our production assistant is Krista Murison. And various Twitter shenanigans and other graphics are done by me.
If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. We love hearing what you have to say.
If you want to join our Patreon, you get access to so many things. You get access to our Discord chat, to Lez-ssentials viewing parties, to ad-free episodes, to our bonus Patreon episodes. You can find all of that at bit.ly/LezPatreon.
If you want to get some Lez Hangout gear, you can get that at bit.ly/LezShop. You can get all of our designs on t-shirts, on tote bags. We love a good tote for convention season. I love my little lesbian tote or my dollar bean tote. You can get that at bit.ly/LezShop.
Remember, we also have a queer production company where we are making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings that you can find everywhere at Dollar Bean Prod.
Or at our website, dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can check out all of the episodes of our first show, The Flame. They are available on any podcasting app.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals, you can join our Patreon at bit.ly/dollarbeanpatreon. We are well on the way to getting Journey to the Heart to your ears. We have a bunch of recording sessions going on right now. We should be done, fingers crossed, with all our recording by the beginning of May. So wish us luck.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh. And
And
let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Sitting alone with your letters and bones, putting coins on your eyes like a postage stamp, watching the world like the more that you learn will explain how your life went off track, like a siren who calls you to an island that hangs in the sky for the blink of an eye, and the day you lose everything, watching the hands of the clock stop. The life that you planned starts to drift through your fingers, lost to the wind, and you watch as it's carried away to a magical place. Cedar and string making Icarus wings, 'cause he wanted to fly like his father did. Eyes full of fire, he tries to go higher than anyone's been in the past. But the candles have melted, and you wish you could help him come down. So you wait on the ground, and the day you lose everything, watching the hands of the clock stop. The life that you planned starts to drift through your fingers, lost to the wind, and you watch as it's carried away to a magical place. And the day you lose everything, watching the hands of the clock stop. The life that you planned starts to drift through your fingers, lost to the wind, and you watch as it's carried away to a magical place.
Hi, I'm Laura Cathcart Robbins, and I am the host and creator of the podcast Only One in the Room. Every week, my co-host Scott Slaughter and I invite you to join us and lose yourself in someone's incredible Only One story. We talk to real people dealing with issues like infertility, the death of a loved one, human trafficking, and women who, fake it. Oh, and we want to be fair, so we talk to celebrities too. Emmy winners like actor John Cryer, supermodels like Amber Valletta, and rock stars like Ryan Dusick. Everyone is invited to share their Only One story with our listeners. With 21 seasons and counting, we guarantee you that Only One in the Room has a story that you'll connect with. This podcast is for anyone who has ever felt alone in a room full of people, which is to say that this podcast is for everyone. Download Only One in the Room on Apple or Spotify today.